Go, madam.
We shall, as we go along in greater detail, meet our guests, convention committee, and also chairman of the 8th Public Panel Lecture. You're most welcome, sir. It gives me a great joy and the joy of the Lord in specially welcoming you to this conference. And we want to ascribe all the glory, the honor, the adoration, and the majesty to the Most High God for preserving our lives and keep all of us healthy and hearty and to be here today. I say this on the background of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and many social and economic upheavals that befell this nation, and as a matter of fact, the whole world, in the past few years. That we are here today, it is by God's mercy, and we give him praise. Praise the Lord. We are here today for the 8th public lecture of our great movement. I want to appreciate our Almighty God for making it possible. Today's lecture, we will be looking at the national security challenges, youth neglect, and by the special grace of God, we have here today distinguished speakers who will be addressing the subject matter by the special grace of God. And here today, I want to make it clear that out of the genuine concern of our General Overseer and the Board of First Government Nigeria for the youth, because the youth are the national asset that should be properly managed and attended to in order to have a great future, not only for our nation, but even for the church and the family. The commitment of the leadership of First Square Gospel Church in Nigeria brought about the formulation or the policy of next generation, which our current General Overseer, Reverend Samaboyeji, is championing as one of the prime focus of the church for the for the decade of our soaring in the movement. If we look at what we are going through in our country today, the army of our youths are on the street, and they are mobile, they are dynamic, they are astute, they are vibrant, and they are, of course, knowledgeable. But unfortunately, these youths have been impoverished. They have become annihilated and also disoriented. So the church cannot continue to rest on its oars and wait for government to continue to do everything concerning the youth. It is time for the church and the family to rise up to rescue our youth from imminent danger. If nothing is done today, then the nation will pay dearly for it in future. So the necessity of today's lecture is to bring men and women of knowledge and experience together with many of us who will contribute to this conversation today together so that we can look at this subject matter and find a way out of rescuing our youth to ensure a new social economic order to bring about a kind of socio-economic emancipation and give our youth new and positive orientation. The major objective of today's lecture, our focus, will also be on the way that the youth can be guided and tailored to take leadership responsibility, not only in government, but also in enterprise in this nation. We want to see our youth, we want to equip them, we want to empower them, and we want to develop them and lead them so that when this generation must have expired, then we will be sure that there will not only be economic sustainability, but there will be positive addition to articulate workforce, productivity, economic prosperity, political stability, and of course, this will lead to improved standard of living for our people and for our nation. As we listen today to our speakers, and we genuinely show our concern on how to move this nation forward. It is our hope that by the end of the lecture, whatever our consensus, will bring them up and forward to the relevant arms of government so that they can consider this in policy formulation so that we can work together. The government should also try to bring up policies so that our present youth can participate in government, participate in business enterprises, participate in entrepreneurship, participate in the management of nation assets and destiny. The time has come, and the time is now for us to look inward rather than to look outward. This is not the time to look for experts from abroad, but the experts are available in our youths. We should look inward and come up with purposeful plans and agenda to develop them, to tap their talents and potential so that they will become responsible leaders of this nation tomorrow. I want to appreciate you again for listening, and I want to enjoin all of us that whatever we know or we want to contribute, even if we don't have time to talk here for reasons of exigencies of time, we are free to put them down, and the committee will work on them, ensure we get answers, so that we can come with a communique which will be made available to relevant government agencies for implementation. I say God bless you all as you listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Can we keep the applause glowing, please? Thank you. He's our chief host and our general overseer. Thank you very much, sir. We're good?
It is my great pleasure, honor, and privilege to join my voice to that of the chairman of the organizing committee of our 2021 National Convention, Reverend Theophilus Netufo, who has extended to us his welcome. I, on behalf of the leadership and members of the Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria, and indeed in the most precious and exalted name of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Savior, the baptizer with the Holy Spirit, the healer, and the soon-coming King of Glory, warmly welcome you all to this unique and auspicious occasion, a special public lecture to commemorate our church's 66th annual National Convention. This public lecture, by the grace of God, is the 8th in the series, having commenced in 2015 when we had our Diamond Jubilee celebration as a church in Nigeria. Over the years, God has been faithful and good to us as a church and as an organization. We give him all the glory. Also, our past public lecture series has recorded successes, and we trust God to help us that as we gather for this event today, we shall indeed have nothing short of good success in Jesus' name. thank you all for accepting our invitation. The Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria, by way of providing insight, was brought here from the United States in 1955 by a devoted missionary and his wife, Reverend Harold and Faye Curtis. Indeed, the church worldwide was founded in 1923 in Los Angeles, California, the United States of America, by a vibrant, divinely anointed lady evangelist and preacher, Amy Semple McPherson. Since the church came to Nigeria, the mustard seed has become a giant oak under which hundreds of thousands of souls have found salvation, healing, deliverance, prosperity, progress, satisfaction, and fulfillment through the preaching and teaching of the Foursquare Gospel message that Jesus is the Savior, Jesus is the healer, Jesus is the baptizer with the Holy Spirit, and Jesus is the soon-coming King. Presently, the Foursquare Gospel Church operates worldwide in over 140 countries. In Nigeria, we have over 4,000 Foursquare churches spread throughout the 36 states of our nation, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. This has enabled us as a church to make remarkable impact even in other African countries, especially in the West Africa sub-region, and indeed other parts of the world, through the efforts of our visionary and committed missionaries and leaders who have served the organization over the years. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one of our tenets of faith as a church and organization is our belief in civil government, and we have consistently demonstrated this in various ways. Apart from praying for our leaders and the country, as enjoined in the scriptures in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1 to 4, we also promote institutions to support government efforts, like we are the promoter of the McPherson University. We also promote some other schools and hospitals. This annual public lecture also represents our modest contribution to the quest for the growth and development of our dear nation, Nigeria. For those of us who were here about this time last year, you will remember that our focus then was on the issue of health, because then the pandemic had just arrived. Our expectation of our country is that which is strong, viable, united, just, equitable, fair, and prosperous, where every citizen will be able to explore and exploit opportunities for personal and collective growth and development. The world over, we are looking forward to enduring, sustainable, and prosperous societies which are founded and built on some important pillars of virtues of patriotism and integrity, among others. The country which we all desire as a church and as a people can only be achieved upon these foundations. A close look at our nation at this present moment reveals that one of the issues confronting us is the issue of security. It has become a monster staring us in the face from all directions. There is hardly any part of this country today where there is no security threat. A situation that has led to many people sleeping with only one eye closed. Ensuring security of life and property is one of the fundamental purposes of governments all over the world. And happily enough, this is well enshrined even in our Constitution. Without the guarantee of security of lives and infrastructure, no appreciable progress can be made in our society. Various reasons have been proffered as explanations for the situation we have found ourselves. Some have largely blamed it at the doorsteps of neglect of youths. The topic we are considering, therefore, national security challenges, youth neglect, is therefore germane to our individual and collective existence. Youths are the most resourceful, energetic, and result-oriented in any population. They are estimated to constitute in this nation about 75% of our population are said to be below 35 years of age. And that is why any effort at any level, whether individual, private, government, public, or corporate, can only be meaningful if it addresses the youth question. Any nation which fails to give deserved attention to its youth population at this stage, particularly for us at this stage of our development, will be doing so at our own peril. There is no doubt that there is a connection between meeting the felt and perceived needs of youths and the security of the general population in our country. We are grateful to God that we have an array of distinguished, tested, and seasoned personnel to examine and do justice to the topic before us. Our distinguished guest speaker, His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, is an astute politician, serial entrepreneur, and successful businessman. He was executive governor of Anambra State and former vice presidential candidate under the People's Democratic Party during the 2019 presidential elections. He is well versed on issues of politics and economy. As a governor, he left his footprint in the field of Anambra State governance. He has won many awards, both locally and internationally, for his exploits in politics and business. I thought we were putting your hands together. Our co-guest speaker, on the other hand, Professor Mrs. Cecilia Oladapo, is a lecturer and distinguished professor of adult education with specialty in psychology of adult learner, women, and literacy education at the University of Lagos. A graduate of the prestigious University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. She's a tested academician and researcher with a wealth of experience, and we trust God to be enriched today through them. Permit me to especially appreciate our chairman for today's lecture, Dr. John Momo, OON. He's an accomplished journalist, broadcaster, entrepreneur, and administrator. When I'm outside this country, the only news I listen to be in touch with Nigeria is the 10 o'clock news from channels. Also, our keynote speaker, His Excellency Dr. Kayode Fayemi, who is ably represented by Honorable Ayodele Yinodu, is the Executive Governor of Ekiti State, as well as the Chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum. Our special guests, host Governor Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, who is ably represented by Ms. Musmola Shashore, is also greatly appreciated. We must appreciate the governor very specially because less than a week ago, The governor was actually with us here when we had the wake-up service of our former general overseer, Reverend Dr. Wilson Badejo. We really appreciate his support, and we suffer from their rich experience in governance, even as we discuss today. Before I end this remark, I wish to reiterate that this public lecture is a prelude to our 66th annual convention, which comes up from 15th to 21st November 2021. It will hold both physically at our campground at kilometer 75 Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Ajebo, Ogun State, and virtually in all designated centers across the country. The theme, of course, is great and mighty things, taken from Isaiah 43, 18 to 19, and Jeremiah 33, verse 3, which says, "Call unto me, and I will answer you, and show you great and mighty things which you know not." I use this opportunity to invite us all. It promises to be a time of great blessings and divine visitation upon all participants. Finally, I wish to appreciate the Convention Planning Committee, chaired by our dearly beloved Reverend Theophilus Enola Netufo. For putting together the logistics for this public lecture. God Almighty will abundantly reward you and your team members for your services in His vineyard in Jesus' name. In the same vein, I would like to appreciate Magodo District of the Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria for the sponsorship of this public lecture. The Lord Almighty will bless and replenish your source in Jesus' name. Please sit back and enjoy the lecture. You are welcome once again, and God bless you.
Journalist, friend, brother, and mentor. Good to see you, bro. How are you doing? I'm good. Mo?
I'm pleased to be invited as chairman of the 2021 public lecture of the Foursquare Gospel Church. It's an honor and it's a privilege, and I thank you for your thoughtfulness. I must also recognize the fact that my colleague and very good friend, Mrs. Bumi Cole, had been on my neck for some time now, making sure that I attend today because of my travel schedules, which I'm trying to keep up with Mr. Obi, who is our guest speaker for today. I recognize Mr. Peter Obi as one of those distinguished Nigerians that the country needs. And I wish you well and all the best of luck. My delight at today's invitation is not just because of the topical issue of national security challenges and the connection of youth neglect, but because we are examining the problem from the church's platform. This effort highlights once more the role of the church in nation building. It's a role that transcends the borders of intercessory prayers to making empirical inputs to national conversations. A challenge to which the church has risen. So it is gratifying that we are again amplifying this disposition through this year's lecture by focusing on the contemporary issue of insecurity. And I have no doubt that our guest speaker is going to do justice to the topic. I congratulate the Foursquare Gospel Church for envisioning this intervention, given its capacity to stimulate thoughts and shape solution-driven policies. Once again, congratulations. We're assuming that the neglect of our youth may be a prime cause of our present security challenges. Well, this assumption is no doubt a valid one, considering the patterns and peculiarities of crime and how youth have conditioned this. I will leave to the guest speaker the nitty-gritty and the details of who constitute youth in Nigeria and in the rest of the world, for there are so many definitions of youths. I know so much that the National Bureau of Statistics says that there are about, that's going by the 2020 estimates, that there are about 60 million youths, and that number has been growing year on year, that are living in Nigeria today. It's an explosion that has led to rising demands for jobs in an environment that our leaders may be ready and willing to provide employment, but have not provided sufficient incentives for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises to thrive. So the lack of jobs has created a surplus of something else: crime and terror. And take, for instance, the result of a correlation study of crime cases recorded at all 36 states of Nigeria vis-a-vis youths that have no jobs show a 55% positive correlation. 55% correlation between the youths that aren't doing anything and crime. The implication is that a relationship exists between crime and unemployment, with increasing numbers of unemployed youths in a state. The reported cases of crime increase. While a correlation of crime and youth and employment does not imply causation, it provides answers to insecurity, youth, and unemployment. And as you probably know, 41% of young people are unemployed, 41%. And only 9% of them who are new graduates find employment. In essence, as a former central bank governor said, and the former emir of Kano, about 4.5% of graduates are added to the job market every year, swelling their numbers. So increasingly, unemployment is moving in the wrong direction. And if you combine that with a lack of poverty, combine that with a high rate of poverty, rising prices, and lack of necessities, you have a recipe for disaster. Today, our youths are preoccupied with an endless battle for survival. It's perpetual, it is fierce, and it is sometimes a gruesome battle that makes it impossible for them to get ahead in life. And the result is total alienation of our youths and a non-existent faith in the system. The youths have become hopeless, they become hapless, and they're unable to progress, for only a few of them can forge ahead, either through sheer luck, ingenuity, or because of favorable family background. So what you see is that some of them are seeking hope from abroad. Some are traveling through the Sahara deserts, some through the Atlantic Ocean, and risking their lives. It is inconceivable that we are neglecting a population as massive as our youths. Granted that the government is making some efforts, but we need to do more. So that's why I'm looking forward to the guest speaker to provide for us and point us to the direction where we can find some solution to this intractable problem, which, if not checked, might lead us to disaster. But the Lord forbids. For this nation shall rise up, and it shall be greater than what it is today. And with men and women like you, who are forthright, forward-looking, and believe in this country, Nigeria, joining hands with each other, collaborating with the church, this nation shall rise. So let me end my remark by saying we need the continued support and prayers of the church in line with your place in nation building. We needed to be in sync with the vision, your prayers to be in sync with the vision of your church, to be a veritable spiritual agent of personal, organizational, and national development. But we also need you to collaborate with the society, with the corporates, and with individuals other than members of the church to help us to create jobs. For as you all know, you can pray all the prayers, but faith without works, completely dead on arrival. So I thank you for inviting me to be chair of this occasion. I was telling, I sent a message across to Mrs. Cole to say that, you know, I've always passed through here as a kid, and when this came up, when I was in the University of Lagos, I always wondered, Foursquare Gospel Church. I like the name. And I thought that there's a lot going in here. So when I was invited last year to come and I couldn't make it, I promised that I will be here this year. I'm happy to be here today. I wish you all well. I wish you a very, very successful and a very memorable occasion. And I know that this lecture will be one that will go down and be etched in our memory for a long, long time to come. Thank you very much indeed. God bless you all.
Great mother, strong and mighty like no other, endowed with an incomparable beauty, even in diversity, overflowing with blessings and invaluable resources. Your children are known in high places, having an intellectual capacity distinct from other territories. A giant, a betting giant, oh great giant of Africa. But mother, why are you falling? Why is your back on the ground and your head like in your crown? Why have you lost your strength? Now a mess, you that is blessed. For we need you to arise. We need you at this time. Mother, your once safe house is soon becoming a war ground. As the peace we previously enjoyed so sweet has been swallowed up by the stormy seas. We aren't Egyptians, but it seems our rivers of water are soon becoming rivers of blood, as blood keeps flowing like river streams. The blood of the old, the blood of the young, the innocent, shed without sentiment. And we've looked around to see who this Moses is, turning our water into blood with his rod. But all we can see are our own brothers holding the knives, cutting short our lives. For the youth, the society of neglected have soon become the soul, eating us up. Mother, your children are weeping. We weep for our brothers and sisters who have nothing to eat. We weep for our currency that has lost its efficacy. We weep for the blood of the innocent that has been poured on our native soil. We weep for those held in captivity against their freedom and liberty. Those slaughtered because they can't afford the ransom of freedom fee when they have a right to liberty without a fee, but no one guaranteeing it. As those meant to be our protectors have sold their integrity in exchange for money. We need you now. We need you to rise up and put an end to these tears. Mother, wake up and stand strong. Mother! Yes. Yes. There is hope. There is hope. There is hope. There is hope for a tree that has been cut off.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Borrow that kind Nigerian word that makes it easy for you not to make. Oh, my co-lecturer, I'm the junior now. You should have lectured first. So let me recognize you. Let me borrow that kind of Nigerian word. All protocols very respectfully observed. When I listened to the chairman, I said to myself, the chairman has done all lecture. And you know, like I did mention to my brother, Tunde Lemo and Tofo, I said, it has been a very difficult week for me. For me, for my family and everything. As you know, I've been in the news lately for one thing or the other. All I'll assure you as Nigerians, and this is that I did not break any law. I broke no law. Issue is whether I resigned as governor before taking office, that I didn't resign from my company for 4 months or 14 months, and there and there. That I didn't declare this or that and everything. You will see how it will end. All I tell people is this. I was privileged to serve as governor for 8 years. Anywhere you find yourself in life, it is by His grace. If you abuse it, you are abusing His grace because He put you there. If I had option, I won't go into politics. But I didn't have the option. I'm sure it's been mentioned here, I was youngest chairman of a bank. I had everything and all that. But things happened that I had to go into it. And when I went into it, the only thing I tell my people is that I'm going to go out of here without anything I can look back and regret. And that is why I say to anybody, and I'm sure chairman knows, the day I handed over in a hall like this, where I asked the state, I'm not owing pension, I'm not owing gratuity, I'm not owing this, and I'm leaving you 75 billion, and I'm going home. But that is for another day. The topic of today, national security challenge, the youth neglect, is very apt. At this critical time in our listening. And I will try to, like the chairman said, make a few contributions as much as I can in this. When we talk about national security, we are talking about simply security and defense of our nation, including its citizens, its economy, institutions. It is the ability of a nation to protect, defend its citizens. There are components of this: governance, economy, provision of basic infrastructure, and security of life and property. These are basically the work of government. These are basically the work of government. So I thank the Foursquare Church for trying, and of course I heard the organizer saying they will do justice and submit it to the necessary quarter. That necessary quarter is where the problem is. Because they will not see the light of the day. I've operated there and I'll tell you. Of all these things that I mentioned, the components that I mentioned, the most critical driver is governance, which is government. If you have good government or good leadership, like you see what is happening today, you will have good economy. There will be provision of basic services. There will be security of life and property, and vice versa. And you will see it when I explain it. The cumulative effect of what you're seeing in Nigeria today is leadership failure over the years. To measure development, when I talk about good leadership, has a very basic thing that everybody uses to measure it. And it's very simple. Human Development Index, HDI. This is a statistical record that you use to measure human development. It has 3 dimensions. Of course, it's grouped in very high, medium, and low. And it has 3 dimensions. And that's where you have to start measuring before I come to you. Number 1 is lifespan. Living a healthy life. Of course, the global average is 75. For Nigeria is 55. So we are 20 years below the average. Today it's well known that Nigeria have overtaken India in infant mortality. India is 1.4 billion. We are 200 billion. Ours even came 2 years ahead. Of course, you know, everybody here, including our leaders, always run overseas for health issues. That shows that one is not working. The number 2 and most important is education. Today, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children, 15 million, and it's growing. If you check that most schools in the north are shut down now, it's worsening. And when we talk about the out-of-school children, let me tell you, 70% have not been to school at all. So they're not out of school. They never went there at all. And that is the crisis you're facing as a nation. And of course, you can go on and on in that direction and what is happening with the education. Number 3 is what you classify as per capita income. This is what you use to measure living and people's income. The ability of people to be able to earn money and what they have. Again, we're all aware that Nigeria is home to the highest number of people living under poverty. About 98 million now, which is almost 50% of our population. And every 6 minutes, every minute, we are throwing another 6 into that club. Things are getting bad every day. And we know that. And what is more striking is that Nigeria, we have more people living under poverty than China and India combined. China is 1.4 billion. India is about the same. So 2 of them combined is about 2.8 billion in population. But we have more people living under poverty than 2 of them combined. It is that bad, and it's growing every day. We're talking about youth neglect, which is the main topic. Today, the neglect of our youth by our country not investing, 1, in education, which is the most critical component of human development, and 2, investing in the engine, which the chairman mentioned, that drives employment and economy, micro, small, medium enterprises, have created a pool of unemployed and underemployed youths. And that is driving the crisis we're facing today. Today we have an existential problem. I can tell you today that in the Southwest, Sunday Igboho is far more popular than all the politicians put together. In the Southeast, Nnamdi Kanu is far more popular than all the politicians put together. Because when you talk about separation and everything, you've driven people to a point where they have what drives the economy and what drives people to live in a country is hope. You've now developed a sense of hopelessness, and they are looking for anything that is not here. I meet people who are agitating every day. And I said to them, but what is it you want? He said, Peter, we don't know, but let's just get out of here. Because they no longer trust and have hope here. So whoever offers them alternative is better than what they are seeing here. That is why you can see people trying to ferry themselves. So we have an existential way where you now need, what are you going to do to reverse this separatist movements, all this and all that. You now have a situation where you have all sorts of criminality. All sorts of criminality is now on our door. Being driven by this unemployed and unemployed youths. We have no hope. Today, and it is important to know the quantum of the youths, because at times people will tell you, oh, but the same thing is in South Africa, that South Africa has the highest unemployment rate in the world, followed by Namibia and Nigeria. It is not true. Nigeria has the highest number. Our supposed number, we are 200 million. Let me just use 200 million. If we use 200 million as our population, that means if we use the average workforce globally, 60%, we are supposed to have 120 million people working. And we have 35% unemployment rate today. When you combine it with underemployment, it's over 50. But let's just use 50. Because out of this 120 million, 60 to 70 million is supposed to be your youth. And if it's 60 million, it's 72 million. And if you have a combined underemployment and unemployment of 50%, that means you have 120 million. Half of it is 60 million that are not working, out of which youth who is 60 is 36 million. That's the number of youths you have today that are either unemployed or underemployed. You now take it to South Africa that is supposed to be number 1. South Africa is only 60 million. So if they take about their working population, it should be 36 million. Add it to the youth population, which they reckon should be about 65 or 70, you're looking at 22 million. And they have unemployment like we have about 65. So about 16 million youths in South Africa is unemployed. So Nigeria, by that number, is more by almost 20 million. So you have more youths unemployed here than you have in South Africa because of your population. And that is the crisis you're facing. These people, they don't know where the next meal will come from. What is the consequence? Today you have the highest drug prevalence in the world. While the average is 5.5, in Nigeria is 14.8. Among the youth is 21. You are now number 3 in terrorism ranking. We are just after Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And it's predicted we will soon overtake them. Young competitive index have moved down now, where you belong to going low. In terms of stress, we are now worsening where Bloomberg has described Nigeria as the most stressful place to live. Cohesion, we have never been so divided as we are today. All because you've not invested in the engine of your growth, youth. And how do you start this investment? Where this investment, the first investment you need to do is to invest in their education. It has been shown the more you can invest in education, the better your economy. The more you invest in education, you will be able to create talents, be able to create those that can be entrepreneurs and everything. And the more you support MSMEs, the higher your per capita, the higher the growth of your economy, because it's the biggest employer of labor anywhere on earth. And this has been abandoned by Nigeria. And the consequence is what we are seeing today. If you would look at, we have a lot of countries that are used to compare what we're seeing today. As at the year 2000, not even 2018 or 1980 or this, by the year 2000 when we started democracy, if you go and look at China, China had medium, because I said it's grouped, it has medium in HDI. India is low. Nigeria is low. Vietnam is low. Bangladesh is low. Philippines is medium. Ghana is low. Just to give you a few countries. Today, every country accord have moved. China is high. India is medium. Philippines is high. Vietnam is high. Bangladesh is medium. Ghana is medium. Nigeria is low. Because you have not invested in education. Indonesia was low with us. They're high now. I'll be giving you examples with those who have high population as well. So you have not invested in education. And the consequence is part of what you're seeing today. Our budget, just to give you an example, in 2018, Nigeria, I used 2018 to do a study there. Indonesia, the reason why I'll compare with Indonesia is that they have a population of 250 million and the highest Muslim population. I always use it because people will say, oh, maybe they're Muslims and we are Christians. No. The highest, where you have a nation with the highest number of Muslims in one nation is Indonesia. Today they're doing very well. And I can tell you, in 2018, their budget for education of 260 million persons is $40 billion. Our budget for 200 million, our own budget for 200 million is about 2 billion. To bring it home here to South Africa, in 2018, South African education is $17.3 billion. Nigerian budget from 2009 to 2018, 10 years, is $14.2 billion. So our budget for 14 years for education is not up to South African one-year budget. Eventually, people will tell you because there's no money. We have abandoned education, which is the most important oil that will change this youth. Of course, I don't need to tell you what is happening at universities now. This is the only country I know where a counselor earns more money than a university professor. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Why will I continue to research, to have PhD, to become a professor, when actually this is the only country that refuses to negotiate with professor but negotiates with bandits? So why will I be researching? I better go and become a bandit and they will listen to me and we negotiate. If you go to America today, the biggest state in America is California, with a 12.7 trillion economy, 6 or 7 times Nigeria. The governor of California earns about $250,000. Stanford professors earn $300,000. They don't bother. They don't even know who is professor. They have a job. And they're committed to it. But today, I know my own lecturers in university who come to beg me for money. Very sad. That is our country. So we abandon the education. What's still in youth neglect is that I said, when you talk about unemployment and supporting MSMEs, these are where you have your youth entrepreneurs. All the big corporations you're seeing in China today, I can tell you, I have 3 companies I work with. In late 80s, 90s, that was small. They are now the big corporations. Something that started in small room. I used to go and buy them things. They would supply me small things. The next time I come, this. What happened? Because there was the articulated fiscal and monetary policy to support that sector. Here, I tell people, if Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all these people were here, they won't see the light of the day. Quote me anywhere. I said it in several occasions. Nobody will give them money. I live in the UK. It will shock you. The first loan I got, I told my bank manager the story of what I'm doing. When he finished, he wrote a memo which they said that my intellectual capital and everything is worth this amount. And they gave me a loan. Here. Oh my God. You have to go and bring your grandmother with his property that is there. They won't. I lived in the UK as a black man, as a Nigerian, and the government will give me grants. And nobody will ever give you grants. To tell you how you swore. I had a lecture in 2018 in Yale University. And I met two Nigerian boys, young people. In their 20s, they said they're coming to Nigeria to do a business. And I said, what are you coming to? He said, have you been to Nigeria? I said, no. But you're going to Nigeria? I said, yes. And they came here and said they've come to visit me again. They're going to do a palm kernel business, so and so place. All they need is my guidance and advice. And I gave them advice. And they said to me, Peter, believe it, sir. We're going to do something. And I said to the one, have you been to your village? You said you're from Anambra State. Yes. Have you ever been to your village? He said, no. So what are you coming here to do? Where were you born? In America. They went to Yale. Then they want to go and do it. So I left them. They will phone me. They will ask me something. I will tell them, okay, this last 2 weeks, they called me and said, sir, our company has been given a grant of about $1 million. From America. Not here. I will show you these two boys now, they are accompanying. By the time I leave here, I will actually leave it with my friend Tunde Lemon so that he can share with you. These young boys are, when they were talking to me and say, Peter, believe in us. Give us this small amount of money and we take 5% of the company. I was just like, these people don't know what they are talking about. They don't know where they are going. Our youth today are roaming the streets. They don't know where to go. Because you have refused to support them like MSMEs will be supported in everywhere. We are celebrating China today as the engine of development. Celebrating Indonesia, India, everywhere. Investing in MSMEs will have put Nigeria where these nations are. Easily. If you go to China today, MSMEs contribute 60% of the GDP. 60% of the export products. And 60% of employment. 50% of tax revenue. And I'll analyze the impact that is there of tax revenue in China, using China as an example, because China is the greatest economy there is today and growing every day. In fact, MSMEs provide 80% of the urban employment. When we talk about China, China is 95% literacy rate. And like I said before, they're high. Chinese economy today is 15 trillion. So 60% of that is 9 trillion, which is what MSMEs, micro, small business enterprise, are contributing. That is 22 times Nigerian GDP at 400. 22 times. That's what they're contributing. China today have 840 million people employed. MSME is providing 500 of that, 500 million. In fact, in the urban employment, they are providing 80%. And urban employment is 500 million, which means they are providing 400 million employed. This sector, which is being neglected and abandoned in Nigeria. That is what they're doing to the Chinese economy. And it's growing like anything. In 2000, China per capita, in 2000, China per capita is $1,000. I don't want to go to 1980, where it was worse. China per capita is, and I repeat, China per capita is 2,000. In the year 2000, 1,000. At that time, we were 600. Today, China is about 12,000, almost 12,000 per capita, and we are 2,000 per capita. They've done about 12 times. We are grappling with 3 times. They had a savings in year 2000. China reserve is $170 billion. We were at $31 billion. Today, China is 3.3 trillion reserve. We are 34 billion. And every day shaking. Because what has China done? They invested in education, they invested in their youth, and promote their economy for export. So everything you see is exported, driven by the youth. Your youths are on drug. Your youths are doing all sorts of criminality in order to survive. If you don't know where the next meal will come from, you can do anything. Your youths don't know where the next meal will come from. No direction. And nobody is investing in them. You hear today people say to you, I even argued this with people yesterday, that we don't have a problem of debt. We don't have a problem of debt. We have problem of revenue. Debt is not our problem. Our debt to GDP is low. I don't know who advises that. You have a problem of debt because your revenue is low, because you have not invested. You can't go to bank to cash money when you have not paid anything in. The people you are going to pay, the people your bank, the people you are going to pay into are the youths you're looking for. That is why you don't have revenue. Because those youths would have driven what you're doing. But you have not invested in them. And you say you don't have a revenue problem. You don't have a revenue problem, debt problem. You have a revenue problem. That is why you have high level of debt service. Because there was no investment, so you're not making money. There's nobody. Is it jobless people that will pay you tax? No. They have no job. Is it people who don't know where the next meal will come that will pay you tax? No, they have no job. In China, their budget for 2018 was 4 trillion. 5 trillion because they borrowed 1 trillion. But the actual contribution is 4. 3.2 trillion came from SME contribution. It cannot happen here because you don't have them. They cannot pay you. The consequence is what I've described in a few places I've been in this beginning of this year. For the first 5 months of this year, our revenue projection was 4.8 trillion. We made only 1.8 trillion. We collect what we received, what we got was 1 trillion 847 billion. That's all we collected. And we consumed about 4.6 trillion. And to service that debt, we had to use 1,802,000,000. So we used 98% of our collection to service the debt. And we are borrowing more. And you say you don't have a problem. I had an uncle who was once arrested by police and handcuffed. They were taking him out of the town. Everybody that sees me and says, Okoye, what is the problem? He said, there's no problem. Everybody that sees me and said, there's no problem. So when they called me, I called the police commissioner and he released my uncle. And I came back and said, Uncle, this man saw you, said there's no problem. This man saw you, said there's no problem. This man says there's no problem. And he looked at the face of all of them and said, it cost all of them. And when he finished, he said, they are stupid. Now there's no problem in his hand and there hasn't been any problem. That is where we are. We have a problem in our hand. And you're saying there's no problem. How are you going to solve that problem if you go by that way? No. We have failed to invest in this youth. This is what China is doing. That is why in the year 2000, China signed with Nigeria what they call Millennium Development Goals. And by year 2015, China had pulled 439 million people out of poverty. And we have thrown more people into poverty the same period because they've invested in their youth. Same thing is happening in Indonesia. Indonesia is a country of 260 million. The total number of people that are employed in Indonesia is 140 million. Working population of Indonesia. 140 million. The SMEs, MSMEs, is providing 95% of this job. 135 million. They have a special ministry called Ministry to deal with small businesses. And they ensure that 20% of all their credits in banks and financial institutions is directed to this body. Just like I said in China, the same thing, the 25% of the credits are directed to them. And that is what is driving productivity in Indonesia. 70% is driven by MSMEs. It's supported by government, everything they are doing, and they're creating jobs. These two countries that I mentioned now have unemployment, China 4%, Indonesia 5%. So they're under 10 because they've invested in education, they've invested in their youth. If you go to Vietnam, let me use Vietnam and Bangladesh and I end and come to Africa. In Vietnam, I went to Vietnam, I went to Bangladesh in 2008. I was a governor when I went to study something in Bangladesh. Bangladesh in 2010, about 2010, 2000, I went there in 2008, but I'll use 2008, 2010 period. Bangladesh was a country of about 100 billion, 900 billion GDP, with per capita $693. And their debt, as at then, was about $50 billion. So they had about 50% debt to GDP. If you go to Bangladesh, they focused on education. They focused on education. They focused on support for SMEs. As you know today, Bangladesh per capita Their GDP have moved to 330-something billion. Their per capita is now about $2,050. 3 times. Their debt have climbed to 100. So if you go now, their debt now is 33% instead of 50% because their economy have grown. Bangladesh now exports to the whole world clothing of about $35 billion. If you go there now, they have clothing everywhere. Everywhere you go in Europe now, the clothes you wear is from Bangladesh or Vietnam. That's what they're doing. Bangladesh is now trying to, and now making more money from diaspora remittance than Nigeria because they educate their people and they export them. Every day we are quarreling about foreign exchange and everything. I will show you countries that have driven their economy by diaspora remittance and getting the foreign exchange they require. So Bangladesh now, between diaspora remittance and exporting of clothing materials, gives about $60-something million when we are earning $18 million from oil. If we get it, though. Their economy have. If you go there, you will see that all those countries that have, all these countries I mentioned, used to have restiveness like we had, they are coming down. Vietnam was the same thing. In 2010, it was 1,300 per capita, 100 million GDP. Today, Vietnam is 2,800 per capita. As at that time, when they were 1,000 something, Nigeria was 2,325. Today we are 2,000, they've gone to 2008. Vietnam total export, excluding oil last year, was, in 2019, was about $114 billion. What did they do? They invested in education. They invested in their young ones. Because they are your productive engine. You must make them work. God gave us everything. We have land here. We don't know what to do with. Just to cultivate it by supporting your youth. The entire Niger State, Netherlands, the entire Netherlands is 41,000 something square kilometers. If you minus water, there are 33.2 square kilometers. The rest is water. Niger State is 76 point something square meters. So, Netherlands is not up to 50% of Niger State. But Netherlands in 2018 exported foodstuffs of $110 billion. We earned from oil $18 billion. And people are. The central bank. I'm happy the deputy governor is here. Whether former or president, we too are former, but we are all part of the problem. Me, I'm former, but we are part of the problem. No politician will tell you that this one is better. My daughter said, Dad, at times I don't listen to all this because all of you speak the same language. She doesn't even bother that. It's true. I have a daughter. I have only one girl in my house who chooses that all she wants to do in life is to be a teacher. In secondary school, she wants to go to my village and teach. And after persuasion and begging her, she teaches in a public school in Lagos here. And she's so happy with it. And calls for me as a contribution. I said, the school will not pay you, I will pay you. But she comes back and I say, oh, this is, I said, Dad, let me tell you, what pains me is when I see these young girls that are working hard, very intelligent, But the country is not giving them hope. And I said, can't you hear this? He said, I leave this in all of you speak the same language. So imagine that is our own feeling. So I'm generalizing, including my brother Lemo. I read philosophy, they introduced it here. When you read philosophy, they will tell you in logic, if you have 75%, you can generalize without committing fallacy of generalization. So all of us are in it. We have not invested in these youths. That is the crisis we face as a nation. Today we call them all sorts of names. We do all sorts of things. And people will say, oh, we have no money. That is why we have not done the needful. No country. Let me tell you, just like no business. Had money falling from heaven. We have an entrepreneur here who built a business from scratch. I don't know who gave him money. He worked for it. He borrowed it. This nation have enough money to invest in our youth. Our total debt today, is just conclude, is about $100 billion. Our total debt today is about $100 billion. And I can tell you, we can't account for it. Leave all this language. It was used for infrastructure. It was used for this. It was used. Since I came to Lagos, they've been building Lagos-Ibadan Road. How much will it cost? Which infrastructure is more important than that one? If that one has not been completed, the money was thrown away. Tell us where the infrastructure is. It's all stories, stories, stories. Egypt borrowed money, billions of dollars to invest in power with Siemens. It's clear. Go and study it. In 2 years, Siemens delivered what they needed in power. A Nigeria story. Our total debt today is about $100 billion. This is the one that is official. There's other ones that Tunde Lemon knows that is happening in Central Bank. He knows. It's happening in Central Bank. The money we are supposed to owe as ways and means, we've borrowed about 10 times that. It's not included in our debt. So this is the one that is official, that is $100 billion. In this $100 billion, let me tell you, I attended a conference by Tony Elumelu Foundation. Tony Elumelu is doing this, his entrepreneurship thing. And the managing director of that organization said, for every young man, they gave $5,000. After 1 year or 2 years, is employing 20 persons. $5,000. And I said to myself, that's interesting. So if Nigeria as a country has decided to invest in these youths by taking a quarter of this amount, nobody knows where it went to, apart from that, you can guess where we kept it. If we have borrowed 25% of that, $25 billion, and shared it at $5,000, which is what is happening in all these countries, I'm telling you, we would have been able to achieve 5 million. We would have had 5 million people receiving $5,000 from the 25 billion. Let me assume that a quarter of them fails, because you have to have failure. If they are guided, we have 25% failure. Even 15% failure. Sorry. We have 25% failure. And we even have 30% failure, which is 1.5 million. If we have that failure of a quarter of that. So we have 35 million, and they're able to create 3.5 million naira, creating just 10 jobs, which is half of what Tony Elumelu said they achieved. 20. I'm not saying they were giving money to 5 million, 30% failure, 3.5 million of them survives, creating half of the job that these people created, 35 million people will be employed. We have 60 million unemployed. If you pull 35 million people out of poverty today, you change this economy. You get more revenue. See this revenue, you get it overnight because they will pay you tax. You can't go to my village where people are not eating and be chasing them for tax. They're actually looking for who to collect the tax from. So if you want tax, this is where to go. The more you pull out people out of poverty, if Vietnam in the past 5 years can pull 50 people out of poverty, Nigeria can. What we don't have is that we, the political leaders, are the problem of this country. We have wasted everybody's time. Let nobody tell you is this. All these things you see us telling, oh, this one is this. Oh, is Yoruba man, is Igbo man, is Hausa man. That is what politicians used to divide you people for their own benefit. I have investments here being run by Yoruba people. I've lived in Lagos. Tunde Lemon knows. He's my friend, like I said. We went to university the same year, left the same year. I've invested in a company where he's working. I didn't know whether he's a Yoruba man. You know what drives investment? Dividend. I don't know where he comes from. I don't even know his village. But I invested in him. And I can tell you so many other companies that invested like that without knowing where they came from. But once you go into politics, because they underperform, they start telling you this one comes from Ijebu, the other one came from here. We have not invested in this youth. And I can tell you, I saw how glad they are here. I saw us having hope. I don't really have that hope. Very sorry. We need to do more. The people we're talking about is us. We're not listening, Gio. We're not listening. The transaction in government is too much. The corruption is too much. People will tell you, oh, it's because of this. Fighting corruption in Nigeria is too difficult. It's not. If you, the principal person, is not stealing, you reduce it by 70%. Go and say, I told you so, and I say it every day. Go and show me where money was missing in Anambra State. If you are not stealing, you reduce it. The cost of governance in Nigeria is unacceptable anywhere in the surface of the world. I've operated it, so I can tell you. When I became governor, our budget was 40%, almost of office of the governor. Education was 2%, this one was this one was this. Nobody. We had all sorts of things. You've heard me say it over and over everywhere. We had all sorts of things. Until I decided, well, listen, let's look at the reality of it. Why do we have to have office of first lady that we have to budget 3 to 4 billion? Nobody voted my wife. She never campaigned. She was not part of it. And we're happily married. So what is this office going to do for us, for God's sake? Everybody said, oh, it's in every state. It's in every state. How can we go and buy 20 vehicles for somebody who is not doing any job, is not doing anything, apart from driving around, creating confusion all over the place? For God's sake, drop this. She never campaigned. And she has a full-fledged office with advisors. Advising her on what? What are they doing? Special advisor to first lady. Is they how to marry me or look after me? We've been living in the house. But there has an office. 20 vehicles, including ambulance. That is not in hospital. She's driving one. And that's it. We had a liaison office in Abuja. Bought by my predecessor for 1 billion. It's costing us almost 30-something million every month to keep people working there. Why will governor of Anambra State have a house in Abuja? What for? You only go there for meeting for 1 day and go. What is those routine of workers, everybody doing? 80-something workers who shouldn't be there. And if I go there, if I tell you, and that's why I repeat it everywhere I go, they give the man 50 to 100,000 naira each time I come there to cook. And I said, listen, wait a minute. This man is cooking for only me. For this amount, buffet in hotel is 5,000. And you're giving this man 50,000, 100,000 to cook for only me. How can you do a thing like that? I can tell you the waste that is in our government is unacceptable. We had a fuel depot. Fuel depot. Costing us 30 million naira every month. By the time fuel goes in there, it disappears. And I said, no, we don't need fuel depot. They said, oh, in case you have fuel scarcity. I said, no. If there's fuel scarcity, we'll go through what everybody is going. Stop this depot. Stop the gas depot. They stop it immediately. They stopped it. We moved, our fuel came down to almost 10 million. Around there until one day, I was driving on the road. I quickly stopped all the cars. Let me know how many cars that is occupied here and the one that is not occupied. Believe it or not, we had 21 vehicles. 15 of them, there was nobody inside there. I said, so where is this all cars following us? They said that is how the governor moves. I said, okay. Now, our convoy today is 5. And you will only buy fuel when I'm inside the car. You go to the filling station, we buy it and we pay them, we move. It came under 1 million. I can go on and on for want of time. I can go on and tell you that cost alone, if we save it. Sorry that if I say it, this is what puts me into trouble. I just told somebody yesterday, yes. No, it's good you told me this. I just told somebody yesterday, all of you are aware that the British Prime Minister had COVID. Are you not aware of it? Do you know where they took him to? He went to Charing Cross Hospital, General Hospital. And I said to somebody, why should we budget for State House Clinic? For God's sake, what is wrong here? We have a national hospital that didn't receive 10% of what we are using to put in State House Clinic. Why don't we repair that one? The presidents are not going to be sick every day. But people are going to be treated here. When he's sick, we'll block one wing. People were still going to Charing Cross Hospital when the Prime Minister was there. It was even intensive care. Other people were in the same intensive care. They didn't remove them. Everybody was there because they didn't want to lose one life. So what is happening here? If you go to every state, people have heard me tell them about my experience when Obasanjo visited me. Every state have presidential lodge in their states. They were building mine when I came. I said, no, you can't continue this building. The president doesn't live here. We cannot build a house for him here. And of course, Obasanjo said he's coming. I'm going to him as a faithful son and said, Mr. President, you're coming. We don't have anywhere for you to sleep. He said to me, I should go away, that he's going to sleep there. He said, we don't have anywhere. You're the president. You can come in the morning, go in the evening. You don't need to sleep. Because we don't have a place for you to sleep. And if you know, Baba, I said, I should get out of his office. So I went down. I went to his chief of staff. Nice man. I said, sir, we don't have anywhere for him to sleep. But he insists he will sleep. Can he come and sleep in my lodge? I have a place where I sleep. If that place is good for people, I'll give you the key for 1 month. When he goes, I come back. Of course, they were very nice. They came and looked at it and said, it's nice. I said, okay, you have the keys for 2 weeks. Called my wife. Said, you're on your own, no? I've taken my things. I'm gone out of here. So, of course, he was there for 3 days. He slept in my bed, slept in everything, and left after 3 days. That was what could have cost us ₦1 billion building that place. And after that, we have somebody who is maintaining it every year. So we didn't do it. When it was Jonathan's own, I told Jonathan the same thing. I said, Mr. President, just come early enough. By 6, you can go. And he did that. So we don't need the lodge. Because people will tell you, when I tell you that, people will say, oh, there's no money. There's no money. Wait a minute. I've operated it. The food if you know the food we were cooking just in the house, I'll come back. They will cook about 30 variety of foods. And I said, what is this? He said, in case if you come back with somebody. I said, have you ever seen me come back with anybody here? So why are you cooking like this? He said, well, you don't know. I said, listen, let me tell you. If I'm going to come here and eat with somebody, I'll tell you. Never cook food in case. You only keep food in case in restaurants. In case customer comes. There's no customer here. When I want somebody, I will tell you. So that was our situation. And everybody, you go to Anambra State, schools we are quarreling. We can have the efficient money. Schools we are working. I was number 26 in Wayaka Neko. And I said it won't be. We must change it. We return school to the churches and say money must go back to school. Do you know how they spend money in education here? With the small money they spend, there's something they call UBEC at Abuja, Universal Basic Education. It gives money to UBEC in the state. The one in the state gives to local government, who then gives it to school. So all these transit points are checkpoints that reduces the quantity of the money. So I said to UBEC, you know what I want you to do with Anambra State? I want money to go from federal government to school. No state, no local government. Straight to school. Return school to the churches. Add a secondary school. KRC on Jacqueline. The reverend sister that runs the place gave us a bill for an erosion in the school for 20-something million naira. 27. The people in my Ministry of Housing and whatever they call themselves said, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about. It will cost about 110 million. I said, listen, the person that has problem says 1027. You, who did not have any problem, it's because give her the money, let's go where we're going. Let the erosion carry her. Till today, there's no erosion. That is where I will now conclude. The most important part of this lecture we're doing to get people who are competent, who knows what it is to be. What we have is a situation of where lunatics have taken over the asylum. It won't work. The people who are there now cannot change it. Because there are people who should not be near the radius of the house of government. Inside. When those who should be inside are outside, they will not drive the process. You can't give what you don't have. You've never made money in your life. You never worked in your life. And you're suddenly asked to manage millions and billions. You first go mad. I lived in England. All lottery winners went bankrupt. That's what you have here. The church should start recruiting these young ones who are doing this to get involved and chase out those of us who are creating this confusion. If they don't do it, no matter the amount of lecture, everything you write here, government will not see it. In fact, it will end where you posted it. Once you submit it, they end it there. They will look. If you want anybody to read it, you put small money. That's the only person who will read it and take away, throw it away. Nobody will read it. There's enough research papers here, but nobody listens to it. That's what you need to do. 2, stop celebrating us. This is the only country that celebrates criminality. I'm not a saint, but I tell people, I have not misappropriated government money. Because I believe that those of us who do are probably bringing the cost on themselves or their children. But I'm saying, stop celebrating them. This is the only country where I know that Peter Obi had no money, he had no house, he's voted in as governor, he built the biggest and best house in the world in his village, in Via, in Ikoyi, and say he's doing housewarming. Then they will bring GO, bring the bishops. Everybody is there praying for him and saying that God should multiply and keep making him successful. People are there laughing and drinking with him when they are supposed to call police. This man has stolen their money. They know where the money came from. They know where it came from. So I've shown you our country is not lacking the money. We need to get people who can cut the cost. I didn't print any money. But everybody knows that I left office. I wasn't owing pension, gratuity, supplier, anybody, and I had 70-something billion in account. There's nothing there. If you have good people in government, it will make a difference. You will see me every day campaign and say, sorry to end it here, that women should actually take charge. Because I always say, I had a female chief of staff. And secondly, they were all older than me. I had somebody who was in class upper 6 when I was in class 1, in charge of my accounts. And every time I say anything wrong, my chief of staff looked me in the face and say, this boy, don't listen. But she's always right. She was a wonderful lady. She will always say to me, don't ever do this. Your mother will not be happy with you. And I said, you don't know my mother. My mother is late. She said, wherever she is. So don't do wrong thing. Keep doing what you're doing here. We need people who have conscience. We need people who have human feeling. This is because the money we even acquire here, we don't need it. You don't need it at all. You can live a better life without it. So, my dear people, this youth neglect we're talking about is a very, very serious issue. If we don't do anything in it, which is what is happening now, the youths who are abusing today will take their revenge on all of us. Thank you and God bless you.
Mr. Peter Obi and the representatives of Ekiti and whatever government or the
what they are saying about you. It is obvious that nation building is easier with primordialist nation formation than contextual nation like our own. While in the primordial, they have a one goal, main goal, and that's, sir, when you are talking of China, they understand themselves. And, sir, you know that they don't go into election like our own. They know the next president that is coming. They've organized themselves in such a way that you can never see them hiring their youth as thugs during political campaign. So they don't even go into it. It's by promotion. And so today in Nigeria, we are using our youth as political thugs. That's where the only thing that they are useful for in Nigeria. Now, let's quickly look at security and what true security is all about. When we talk of security, what usually comes to mind is military security. And people describe security where necessary measures are taken by governments, group of people, or individuals to protect lives, properties, infrastructure, and so on and so forth from aggressive or unfriendly actions and activities. Now, from this definition or description, you will see that security is with, every one of us, right from individuals to homes, families, clans, parents, and so on and so forth. But we have missed it from the beginning. In my own days, I'm just a few years above 60, but I know and I can still remember that in those days, our mothers were always at home to take care of us. They speak the language that we can understand. And that is why we call it mother tongue. Your own language, your traditional language. They bring you up with your language. Your mother teaches you morals. She teaches you the cultural taboos within your own environment. And before the 70s, every elderly person in your clan, in your society, and even in your environment, they are your parents. Anybody that is older than you is your brother and your sister. And so, even when that old man sees you doing anything that is not morally right in the society, he corrects you. And you dare not get home and tell your parents that Baba Alagbaja beat me outside. If you tell my father, he will beat you again. Today, our mothers are never there. As a matter of fact, our language is going into extinction, or our languages. In a UNICEF funded research about 10 years ago, it was discovered that in the next 50 years to that time, Igbo will go into extinction. No, is Hausa 50, Igbo 30, and Yoruba 20 or so, or the other way around. What am I saying? We are no more teaching our children morals. And so they don't, they commit any crime anyhow. And instead of us exposing them, we don't want stigmatization, and we keep them indoors. Most often, mothers will leave their children with their uncles, with their aunties, and better still, house help. Most of them are violated. I have many of them under me that will come to me and say, Mommy, this is what I'm going through. My uncle defiles me nearly every week when Mommy goes out of the state. Let me tell your mommy, no, you cannot tell my mommy. Let me tell your daddy, no, you cannot tell my daddy. There was one we even told the father, and he said, don't come back home, because this is stigmatized. You have caused problem, stigmatization of the entire extended family. So many of these children, they keep to themselves. These children grew up between 70s when mothers didn't have time for their children again, that they go out to look for money and want to rub shoulder with their husbands to have money here and there, and at the end of the day, the children are neglected. The children that we neglected after the oil boom of 70s are the youth of today. They are the youth that are actually causing insecurity, not only in our homes and societies, but also the nation as a whole. And so, our homes make up the society and the clans. Many a times, even in Lagos State, in the 80s, 70s, if you see a child wearing a uniform outside around 10 a.m., 11 a.m., many have done it before. I put that boy in my car and I took him to the school. And I told them, you must investigate. Today, it's nothing like that again. Let me shock you that in most of our secondary schools today, the teachers are no more expected to even correct the children. I went for a teaching practice. I won't mention any school. And after I was in the sitting room, the staff room. And this girl, at a time, I now came out of that waiting for my junior colleagues to come. And this girl was passing. That girl was in GS3 for crying out loud. And the teacher, one of the teachers, a female teacher, said, I've not been seeing you for some time now. He said, mo taking ni mo deti yo. Without any, it's like I took him and I've removed it. It's like I didn't hear. Said, and the woman said, hey, yeah, how are you now? Sure, you are better now. She said, yes, and left. I was now wondering, did I hear this woman well? And I said, excuse me, what did you ask that girl? She said she was pregnant. She has removed it. And you are still, she said, we must not talk. Even if she's ready to carry that pregnancy, nobody must molest her. This is a girl of about 13, 14. Let me shock you with another example. I went for a teaching practice. And this girl, I was with you, we have to tell the principal, and I was in that we are here. I was with the principal. One boy just walked in and said, Principal, mo yo fun yin o. Ìyàwó yín bímọ. I was like, excuse me. That one said, Olanikoma, I will not miniwa school. He was saying it in Yoruba. He was like, excuse me. Say yes. That one said, oh, Pele. Who is the mother? A GS3 pupil from the same school. Our value system has gone down the drain. No more respect for our values. How many of us mothers here still talk of virginity to our children? We don't have time for them. And the abandonment of yesterday, they are the youth of today. Coupled with that is the programs that these children they watch on television. Many of us today, we pacify our children with programs on television. Programs where they shoot. And even the kind of toys that we buy for them. If you bring out 10 toys, 8 of them have guns. Go to our social media. All these children, after some time, they have mastered all the ills, the crimes, internationally. And by the time they become youth, what do you expect of them? Nothing but continue to perpetrate these so-called crimes. And so, many of our children today, they involve themselves in this kind of crimes that you cannot even think about. Unthinkable ones. All these, what do you call this thing that they use to these children that will buy, I don't know what you call it, to fight, is gone. And we say, hey, I've won. Won, how? Killing all those people inside that the kind of game. That is it. And so by the time it becomes a youth, that is the kind of crime that we are breathing today. Who is a youth? UNO says that a youth is between the ages of 15 to 24 years, just to help us to grow. And that is why I am recommending a regional governance, where every region, we have 3 regions based on our historical background, based on our language, based on our tribes. So every region we have its own law, its educational development, everything will be your own. But you will own your mineral resources. But there will be a mutual understanding and agreement between each region and the federal government on the percentage of the mineral resources that will be going to the center for central administration. If we go by that, every region, every tribe, I'm from Yoruba tribe. Anything Ekiti says, I understand. Anything Ijebu says, I can understand. Anything Owo says, I will interpret. But if you take me outside, I cannot understand. I am non-literate. So you cannot cheat me with the language if we are from the same region. So let us go regional. If we can, that will be the starting point. And then our educational activities must see these children or these youth, as the case may be, we see them through. Let us devote at least 30% of our budgetary allocation to education. At least. Excuse me, sir. New Zealand is just a little bit above 5 million. They are the number one funding educational system the world over. The last time I checked, master's degree in New Zealand goes for as much as $35,000. Britain today is enjoying education because every nation comes to educate their children in United Kingdom. The same thing with America and other European nations. If only we can hold on to education, we don't need oil. If we can develop education, it's our seat. We are sitting on oil. Is it oil well? Let us develop education. Let us develop our youth. Then we give them 21st century education. Not theoretical education. 21st century education. And you cannot get that without power. You cannot get that without security. Let us involve these children in the security of this nation. And let us see how we can bring them. Do you know that even the minister for youth in this country is not headed by the youth? So there is no youth that is capable of heading a youth in this country. They are only useful as thugs, political thugs. In conclusion, I want to say that the main reason why we have this today is because, one, the way we were formed. Iruwa Ogiriwa, they just brought us together. And so, for us, it should not be once in a lifetime referendum. It should be constant referendum, if at all we don't go into regional. It must be on yearly basis. At the end of the day, I believe that our schools, from primary to university, should be really funded.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope we can keep it short and sharp. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I've been asked to keep it short, so I think I'll just go straight to the speech today. So permit me please to stand on all existing protocol. General Overseer, good afternoon, sir. General Overseer, good afternoon. Pastors, Mr. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, representing the governor of Ekiti State, Honorable Ayodele Jinadu, Royal Highness, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon again. I bring you greetings from His Excellency, from Mr. Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Olusola Sanwo-Olu, who unavoidably is not here today. Thank you very much. I personally am grateful to be here. It's an honor to share the stage with the speakers that we've had today. There's so much I've picked up today, and it'd be nice to have the communique to share with the governor when I go back. But I also want to say thank you to this house for all this house has done spiritually and in the development of the nation, and for myself, because this is the house of my spiritual mother and father, the Onuzos, if I'm here. So I know the impact of Foursquare. I am a beneficiary of that. So thank you very much. So I'll go straight to the governor's remarks. So I'll start from top. Thank you very much. So it says, I believe the governor's remark is going to cover more of the impact of the state of the economy on the youth, how Lagos sees the situation, and some of what we are doing and what we hope to do to elevate the situation. And I read the remarks of the governor today. Let me begin by expressing how honored I am by the invitation extended to me to attend this annual lecture of the Foursquare Gospel in Nigeria as the special guest. I thank the General Overseer, Reverend Sam Aboyeji, the Chairman, Convention Organizing Committee, Reverend Theophilus Eniola Netufo, the clergy and the entire members of the church for giving me this opportunity to express my thought on the topic of this lecture. National security challenges, youth neglect. I would like to commend the leadership of this establishment and its role in the development of the society, of our society. For over 65 years since founded, Lagos State can testify of the great initiative that has been pioneered by this church and its role in spreading the gospel of love and unity to every part of our nation, our great nation, Nigeria. The issue of insecurity is arguably the most contemporary in our country today. As we speak, every region is experiencing one insecurity challenge or the other, ranging from terrorism, insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and herdsmen and farmer clashes, to name a few. As a result, many lives have been lost while millions of people, especially women, children, and the aged, have been displaced from their homes and are sheltered at the various IDP camps across the country. The impact of current security challenges on the economy and well-being of the people is very significant. Perhaps the sector where impact of insecurity is most apparent is the agri sector, from our own records in Lagos State. This impact is reflected in the rising prices of food items, which is attributable to the unavailability of farmers to access their farms due to security and safety concerns. However, the question which this lecture seeks to provide answers to is whether the state of insecurity being witnessed today across the country is a direct consequence of the neglect of our youth that have suffered over the years, just as the speaker mentioned. While I will restrain myself from going over what has been said before by the speakers, I hold the view that there has been no deliberate policy to neglect the youth. The truth, however, is that the impact of a dwindling economy will be felt most by the youths who will have to face the challenges of increasing unemployment, job losses, and the lack of capacity to take advantage of opportunities to earn a decent livelihood. These and several other factors are responsible for the involvement of young people in criminal activities and social vices that are threatening the peace and security of the society. The youth constitute a major asset of a country, and they are the hope for the future. Statistics have shown that while some countries are faced with challenges of aging population, young people account for about 60% of our population. This is a huge potential, which, if properly harnessed, will propel this country into greatness and prosperity. I strongly believe that the task before us is to facilitate the process of creating the enabling environment for our youth to positively channel their energies, talents, and their innovative and creative minds. We need to give them the necessary support to live their dream and fully realize their God-given potentials. Certainly, this is a potent antidote to being vulnerable and willing tool in the hands of unscrupulous and disgruntled elements within the society. Our administration in Lagos State fully recognizing the place of the youth. We recognize the place of the youth in the development mix, the development matrix, and we have put in place policies, programs, and initiatives geared towards enhancing the capacities of our youth to create wealth and job opportunities. We have developed initiatives and also put in place incentives across sectors, including information technology, to encourage our youth to develop solutions to some of our developmental and social challenges. Permit me to highlight some of the youth inclusion programs we are implementing to empower the youth. In agriculture, we have the Youth Agripreneurship Program and artisanal farmer communities. We're giving startup equipment and inputs as of July 2021 to facilitate the agricultural value chain and activation program. In agriculture, we also have a program with women and youth, of which 107,000 of them are disabled and people with special needs. And we're training them and empowering them with productive inputs in rice, agriculture, and poultry value chains. 800 youths have been trained in different agricultural value chain in partnership with private sector for internship and mentorship. Also, we have been empowering our youth using the cage and pen culture. 190 were empowered with fish cages and fish feeds across Afowa and Badagry. Capacity building on the production of food supplements for women. Young women have been trained on production of maize meal as food supplements for weaned babies in agricultural zones. In science and technology, we have a Lagos State Research and Innovation Council that has a program of research funding as well as startup investment. To date, we've funded about over 220 startups, all led by young people in different areas of agri-technology and education technology, construction, health technology, and much more. These startups are creating jobs and solving civic challenges across and beyond the state. The Lagos Innovates programs through the Lagos State Education Trust Fund, Employment Trust Fund. And it has partnered with over 35 innovation hubs and giving workplace vouchers to over 120 startups for access to resources to build their startups, create solutions, and employ young people. The Lagos State Codes and Software Training Programs. These programs have engaged a lot of young people within and outside the school to build critical skills in demand in the workplace. Under the training and employment activities, I know Mr. Obi talked about the MSMEs, the medium, small, and micro, medium enterprise. In Lagos State, we have a loan program that constitutes some of the cheapest loan rates in the country. It's a 9% interest rate. This allows budding entrepreneurs that qualify for the loans to borrow loans for their businesses. Loans can be applied for on the website. The Employment Trust Fund also has an employability support program. This is actually designed to tackle the employment scourge among the young youths. The program is currently aiming to train 10,000 young people and for them to gain requisite skills and knowledge through different training interventions in the areas of manufacturing, hospitality, entertainment, construction, health, and garment making. We also have the Lagos Cares program. And this program actually grants cash transfers to qualified businesses that are affected by the pandemic. It focuses a lot on the youth as well. This program also targets the small, medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs. Lagos is currently executing programs in technical vocational educational training. We have the solar farm construction training. We have the community talent hunt with IT-embedded digital entrepreneurship skills. The graduate internship program, placement program, which is run by the Ministry of Wealth Creation, places young interns in companies and agencies for direct employment intervention. The Mindset Orientation Program seeks to reorientate youth to have positive values and for them to have influences in value-oriented society. As we, on the side of government, continue to deepen and widen our youth employment initiatives, we actually expect organizations, including religious bodies like Foursquare, to also not relent in playing their role towards providing opportunities for the young people. Programs like this, deliberations like this are welcomed. Finally, I would like to thank the leadership of Foursquare Church for having me here today. I pray for continuous growth of this religious establishment, which is a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. May our light continue to shine into the four walls of this great nation. I wish you a wonderful deliberation. Thank you for listening on behalf of the government. Thank you very much, sir.
Represented by the Honorable Commissioner for Special Duties, Honorable Ayodele Jinodu.
Your Excellency, this is belief that with this, Nigeria is a work in progress. He told me why I was coming because he wanted to depart to Abuja. He said he had a lot of friends who are members of this church, and particularly the GO. And he told me to tell you that he will continue the conversation with you privately. That he will continue the conversation with you privately. There are a lot of your church members in the Ekiti government, and a lot of them who are friends. Their attitude and disposition to life depicts that this church has produced wonderful people across this country. Mr. Governor said I should congratulate you on this 8th annual lecture and wish you success in your national convention that we hold very soon. My governor is a scholar of note. If he's here, he will have been very prolific. He can talk and write in every aspect of the Nigerian nation. Ladies and gentlemen, all hands must be on deck. Men and women, old and young, we must all come together to solve Nigeria's problem. From the family, to the community, to the state, and to the nation. Nigeria certainly is a work in progress. Mr. Giosa, while I was coming in the aircraft, I was given seat number 8C. I got there and met a young boy. When he saw me, he removed all the earphones in his ear. He adjusted and said, where should I sit? Should I come here or there? Do you know what transpired in my mind? That, we can see some young ones who are from wonderful homes, who can still respect elders. The youth must not be totally thrown into the dustbin of time. In my home, I don't speak English. I speak Igiti. But in my home, I buy just any book. I buy just any book. The wife of Mr. Governor is an author. The governor himself is an author. I will pack all their write-ups, all their papers, and scatter it anywhere in my house so that my children can read. They read history, they read sociology, they read science, they read politics, they read economics, they read science, all over the places. Mr. You, sir, all my children don't speak English in my house, but they are wonderful readers today, and they are excellent. Anywhere they shine, in both English and Yoruba. In Ekiti State, Mr. Governor is interested in value orientation. The Omoluabi in us must be brought to bear in everywhere we find ourselves. And if the Omoluabi values are brought to bear in every facet of life, you will not pay attention to tribalism. You will not pay attention to nepotism. You will not pay attention to religious bigotry. You will not pay attention to corruption. You would like to be faithful as a Christian. You would like to be diligent as a Muslim. You would like to be sincere as an ordinary Nigerian. Or by the time we put them together, Nigeria will be better than what we are talking about. The 5-point agenda of Mr. Governor is expressively interesting. The white card in the agriculture sector have produced wonderful farmers in fishery, in rice production, in cassava production, in gari production in Ekiti State. Today in Ekiti, most of us don't eat foreign rice. I eat what is called Igbemu rice in Ekiti. And it's available everywhere. It's available everywhere. The knowledge economy is thriving in Ekiti State. Dr. Kayode Fayemi administration has just commissioned 7 model secondary schools named after icons in Ekiti State. Icons like Senator Ayo Fasomin, icons like Professor David Oke, icons like Digi Fason, icons like, and so many other people, Professor Banji Akitoye. The schools are wonderful, and Dr. Kayode Fayemi is preparing our youth for greater tomorrow. You know, he's a gentleman. He doesn't pretend. He's not a populist pretender. He will do the best thing for the state. Mr. Chairman, sir, Mr. Gio, sir, in the recent time, because Ekiti Roads under the administration of Fayemi is fairly good, the entire trailers coming from Lagos, Ibadan, they now pass through Ekiti State, perhaps to Abuja, to the extent that we are now wondering, with these chains of trailers not destroy the little roads we have today? That shows certain things is good about Ekiti State. I would like to round up by saying that Mr. Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi has his love for this church, especially the church philosophy of engendering development in the society, and hence the topic of today. My admonition from Mr. Governor is to every Nigerian and to every member of this great church. Thank you very much.
So Aderibigbe Olomola, Kábíyèsí. Okay, you have one, sir.
Your Excellencies, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, ably represented here by the Permanent Secretary, the Executive Governor of Ekiti State, also ably represented the General Overseer of the Church, Madam Gio, other Reverend gentlemen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me thank the organizers, particularly the GO, the chairman of the committee that has deemed it fit to allow me to share part of the knowledge that is available in this church and by the erudite speakers and contributors in this discourse. I am actually impressed. I was really elated when the guest speaker, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, was delivering. I really believe that he was the one delivering that paper. I mean, they're talking to us. But I have been enjoying him anyway. I've been enjoying him. I've been listening to him. Where I followed his conduct as governor and as also someone who contested as a running mate and so on. So today when he was presenting, although he was not presenting like a politician, I note that the problem we have in Nigeria now, and what we are really talking about now, is actually created by politicians in Nigeria. They need redemption, and I will urge our father, the GO, to continue to pray for politicians in this country so that we can resolve the problem of insecurity. I will probably summarize some stylized facts which I gathered from some of the presentations, especially the presentations of the speakers, the keynote speakers, and the co-speaker. That first of all, we have been throwing money to solve problem of insecurity in Nigeria. We have just been throwing money in there, and we have received minimum results. And the more money we spend, the more insecurity we have. So I want you to ponder on these 6 points. I want to first of all raise, and then we'll go to some threats, and then we'll look at the way forward. The more money we spend on security, the more insecurity we have. What is responsible for this? We need to take this away and ponder on it. And in the last 20 years, the more money we devoted as security vote, the more insecurity we have. Insecurity has always been with us, but it assumed a very wide and dangerous dimension since 1999, to the extent that we needed to pacify politicians by bringing out a lot of money to put in their pockets, to put in their houses, to put in their cars, to put everywhere, so that they will never look at the treasury and they will never put their hands there. But this has not happened. We also note one stylized fact that the weaker the control of importation of light and small weapons in Nigeria, the higher the state of insecurity. And you see, like some people that are supposed to control what we have here, let's take the custom for instance, they prefer to go into the markets to pursue those that are bringing in foods. This insecurity is being perpetrated, through the use of light and small weapons. How do they come into the country? There's a weaker control. One other thing I also want to say as a stylized fact here is that one language that all of us will understand, despite Professor Oladapo's theorem and the discourse on the formation. And now we have one language that all of us understand, irrespective of age, gender, religious affiliation, socioeconomic status, and this one language is insecurity. And if all of us understand this language, we must all contribute to solve it. We must all contribute to solve it, because we all understand. We understand this because it affects us, everyone. It affects even the youths. Students in universities are captured, are taken away. Women, anyone in Nigeria, you cannot absolve yourself. We're all involved. So we must all come together to find solution. We need to look at the threats now. My answer to the theme is that, yes, youth neglect. Youth neglect is part of the cause. But the major cause is political actions. Political actions, political inactions, and political factions have destroyed our economy, have created insecurity in Nigeria. And this lecture is well timed Because we are waiting for another election now. And we have to beg and pray for the politicians to allow peace in Nigeria. They caused this insecurity. Have you ever had people who were born 30 or 40 years ago who probably would not know what is called security vote? We never had it on the pages of newspaper. It was in 1999, and therefore, jumbo amount was budgeted. That's what I mean by throwing money to security and with minimal result. Look at the amount we've been throwing at security. No result. Now, let's look at the major threats. The do-or-die democracy that we have in Nigeria is a threat to insecurity in Nigeria. We say we have democracy in Nigeria. We don't have democracy in Nigeria. I think the politicians need to learn what democracy means. We don't have democracy. They're interested in themselves and not in the country, nor in the development of the country. And this is what is causing insecurity in Nigeria. You also look at one angle of insecurity, food insecurity. You see millions of farmers in Nigeria now cannot go to the farm, cannot stay in the farm. No one can eat 3 square meals anymore in Nigeria. That derives from what the keynote speaker had already addressed in terms of human development. He said that is the income dimension of it, because of low income, poverty, and so on. But it's a major threat to national security. Because if there is food insecurity, then it means that many people will be going up and down to look for food. So if you have food in your house, it may not be safe. If you have food on the farm, not already harvested, it may not be safe. So it's a major problem. So I'm also happy that Lagos State Governor, while he was reading out some of the things that have been done to empower the youth, talking about agriculture and some research and innovation centers to boost food production. I think this is very important. One of the threats is monetization of the election process. It's only people who have money in this country that go in for election, not people who are competent, not people who have the knowledge, not people who have the heart. It's people who have the money. So monetization of our democracy, of our election process has created insecurity. As we are trying to warm up for another election, the role of money power, let us pray against it so that money will not send us into deeper insecurity. So it is very important. One career that is rearing its ugly head in Nigeria is corruption. Corruption is a career and it's a business. It was never like this. And you can see everybody now, the only business everyone wants to go to because of this insecurity now is corruption, both in the formal and the informal sector, both in the public and the private sector. It's a dangerous trend. The keynote speaker already addressed this, that people have the wherewithal to checkmate this, but it's only that they don't have the will. It's because it's a business now. And if you are not corrupt, you don't go into politics. If you go into politics, then you become corrupt. So the way Nigerians play politics is creating insecurity in Nigeria. The more money you have, the more appetite you have to go into politics, to the extent that the keynote speaker also said this, and I respect him for this. He said those are inside politics now are not supposed to be there, and those are outside, probably, maybe those are the people who we should fight to be there. So during election, nobody tried to really do actual voting. All we have during election is trade fair. Election in Nigeria is a trade fair where you do voting and buying and selling of votes. Trade fair at the local government, trade fair at the state level, trade fair at the federal level. So that people buy their way into positions. And when they get into positions, they don't care to solve a problem of insecurity. They're not concerned about food security. They're concerned with their personal development. And they are concerned with the next career. Politics is now a career. When you finish from a councillor, you want to be a commissioner. It's never like that. This is the only country where politics is not even good politics. It's taken as a career. And because the why all these problems are not going away and the youths are being ignored is that the outmoded ideas which have been using 60 years ago at independence is what we are using today to govern Nigeria. Are we expecting any result? We can't expect any better result. People who have been doing the governance 60 years ago are the ones still doing it now. So what do you expect? What change do you expect? My colleague was talking about their laboratories, those that were constructed before even she was born, methods that have been used to teach youth 60 years ago is what we are still teaching now. All the laptops we are using here, the iPads and so on, are developed by teenagers or young boys, toddlers in Russia, toddlers everywhere, develop all this computer we are using today. What have we developed from our universities? What have we developed? So this is it's a very sad situation. But the way forward, first of all, we must expedite legislation on state police. Legislation on state police must be expedited such that every state in Nigeria must have a state police. It is compulsory. 1999, when we have an incoming government, I was one of 3 other colleagues that were assigned to get a blueprint, and we recommended that this is the time we should start state police. Now people say, oh, we are not mature. No, people deceive a lot. Nigerian politicians, they deceive a lot. They never mature for anything, only except to maximize rents. They are not mature. And because people who are not supposed to be there are there, they will not understand. Like the keynote speaker mentioned, some of them don't have the competence. They cannot even think through. Children that were born 20 years ago have already graduated now. You are still talking that you are in politics 20 years ago, you are in the House, you are in the Senate. You are not mature to craft a bill to think through how every state must have a police. You say we are not mature. And see where we are now. See where we are. Now it must be quickly made, and we can contribute. We vote these people in. If you go there, you don't get this state police sorted out, then we are not ready to tackle insecurity. Secondly, we need to have judicial reform. Let the courts not have jurisdiction to get people into office. People who do not deserve to be voted in the polling booth should not be accepted in the courtroom. Should not be accepted in the courtroom, because every system in the electoral process is manipulated. If you want to be voted in and take care of security of life and property, which is the primary responsibility of government, be properly voted in. Deserve your vote. Let politicians deserve their votes. Don't lay ambush and get to the court and the court declares you winner. No, that is not democracy. Let us ask the jurisdiction of the court. If you lose at the polling booths, if there is anything along the line, go back to the electorate. Go and do rerun. Go and do rerun. So do not let the court have jurisdiction to declare that this is the person that will go to Senate and so on because of one technicality or the other. Let us think through the process and let us do some reforms along this line. Now, let us modernize intelligence gathering. Don't let us throw money at this security issue. For example, there are some states where the private sector have developed drones, for example, drone technology to smoke out criminal elements from the hideouts. But because we do not have funding for development, we either rely on imports. You cannot import solution to your security problem. It will never work. I mean, it is even dangerous. It is dangerous. So let us have financial and budgetary support, logistics support to private sector business people who have already developed drone technologies at the primary stage so that we can have this thing, have a business orientation for this thing and mass produce them. So that they're everywhere, so that you can get people hiding in the forest, hiding in the wilderness, hiding in the creeks, wherever you are hiding, technology will get you. What are we doing in the university that we cannot produce this technology? Do you remember the number of universities of this insecurity? Social cohesion is missing in the country. Infrastructure breakthrough is absent. Political transformation is absent because we don't develop a human capital. The keynote speaker talked a lot about this.